At least
We'll talk about that because
again, I'm willing to give it a go. I'm hard of hearing and I don't recognize faces.
makes two.
Perfect, secretary, but I'll do my best.
All right. First thing is minutes from last month. Any questions? Having a motion?
So move.
All in favour? Any nays? Excellent. Which takes us back to minutes. How to do this. I keep reasonably good notes of what happens at meetings. We've obviously got the video.
Right.
I do think one thing we could do is shorten the minutes if that would make your life easier. We don't need to have some corporate 0 minutes, but we could have
I think
really.
I mean, my understanding is the minutes should be significantly shorter than the video.
Yes.
Yes. I do.
Right.
Distill the information.
Goals should rather than get done on 1 page, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, these are far more expensive than I could.
Well, this particular months are much more expensive than usual, I thought.
That's such an interesting meeting.
I didn't do this.
What are the notes you're reviewing from?
Yeah, we're just talking about how to deal with minutes, and one of the questions that's come up is should we use artificial intelligence, which I think will be a regurgitation.
I can, Simon. I got voluntold on the housing commission to be the minute taker. So as the junior member, and it is a pain, but the AI that Zoom uses is quite helpful. It literally is the text,
Right.
and you don't have to watch the whole video. You can just kind of zoom through, no pun intended.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then you just shorten it up from that.
Right.
Yeah, and we could agree that we're going to do action items. I mean, now we don't do a lot of motions in this board, so
Right.
I think action items could be a little bit subjective, but maybe that's the idea.
And that's available on the Zoom thing?
Yeah,
The
I can-
text is there?
Yeah, I can send it to you afterwards. I hope, I pray.
Well, let's try it for 1 month. I'll be helpful to the extent I can, and if that works, terrific. And if it doesn't, we'll have to go back to the well.
Thank you, Jane.
You try.
Thank you.
No problem, sir. No problem.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Second item is update on candidates to fill the vacancy. I have proposed that David Keystall join. Sorry,
Keithman.
You're not gonna be
David
happy.
Keystall.
Yeah.
Thinking about
Yeah.
names.
That's okay. I know.
To Gordon, and David is preparing a brief outline.
Spell his last name for me?
Kiesman.
Okay.
Here it is.
I'm even here at the meeting, yeah.
I think a number of us thought he actually it's very cogent and forceful arguments, both at the last EDC meeting and at the round table the other day. So we'll see what happens. Update on the social media platform, Neil. Good to see you with us again. Balmy Philadelphia.
I had mentioned to some of you that our Planoly account was closed, and that's the platform that I use to upload all the images and sort of pre-schedule everything that's happening.
Yeah.
So Mayor and I worked on getting a new Planoly account opened, which is now set. But in order to schedule things, it's a monthly fee. We were paying this last year, and I think it is $14 a month is the fee to let us plan things through.
Okay. Well, we should certainly pay that again, to my mind.
Yeah, we should make a motion to continue carrying the cost for the Planoly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
And
could just put it on my card and
Yeah,
submit.
well, I think it's approved by everyone here. Are you okay with that, Oscar?
make a
Good.
motion.
So we'll
Okay.
get that really.
I second it.
All in favor? Aye. Good.
Great. I'll set it up then tonight so we can start going again.
Very traditional. Good. Well, thank you very much for looking into that.
Thanks, Mayor, for helping. We had a lot of technical problems.
And just, yeah, and just to clarify one thing, it is tied, correct me if I'm wrong, Neil, it is tied to Cornwall CT EDC at gmail.com. Right? Yeah, so that's good. It always will be that. It's
So
not a
how much
personal
we can
account.
do.
It's not, right,
No. It comes directly there, yeah.
yeah.
I
So
think
that's good.
that's helpful.
Right. And whoever wants access, obviously, to that email. I know that you
I
sometimes
okay
look
for
at
you,
it
yeah.
and I look at it, but if I want to.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to talk about the roundtable we had, Jim the Rock?
Oh, I'll let Duncan do that.
Yep, so great session, we had, gosh, we must have 15 people or so.
Or more.
12 or 12, 15, yeah.
And a really good mix of what I enjoyed was kind of a good mix of local, second home and businesses based there. It was good to see. It was good sort of education for folks on the history of this discussion. David Kiesman was helpful. He's dragged out a couple of the old traffic studies. Again, the one thing I was hoping for was there was word of this study that was done just a few years ago, but nobody seems to be able to.
Richard, I thought, said he.
He had the older one. Richard provided like the,
Richard-
like literally the 1990 or something,
Really ancient.
or like, or maybe before that, but.
Nobody's found those.
Apple can't find
And
that.
we asked Jane.
Gorman York.
Ah, Yeah,
Maybe contact Gorman York.
maybe that's the way to go. That's too bad, but.
I can look if
Come
I
up
have
with it.
some information on them still.
Oh,
They were the ones who did, I think, that study in part.
What's the name again?
Gorman York.
Or Gorman and York, it might be, or is it Gorman York?
Gorman
So this,
and
I
York, yeah.
think, I looked it up once, it's in Hartford maybe?
Yes.
It is a local consulting type of
Mhm.
company, right? I mean,
Oh, that's good.
local-ish, local,
Right,
Right.
so anyway, so what we said, the next step is to track down the old studies, if we want to get some of the companies back. We'll get that. Kate is now given me her availability in March, so I'm going to propose. I guess that I just have to look at the bid.
Mhm.
It's too big a group to try.
yeah, I
So
was just
just-
thinking.
we can-
Right.
we'll do that. Do you think I should ask those guys, Ronnie and
Yeah,
David
yeah,
again?
they seemed happy to do it, so maybe it worked out well in that space.
Maybe I should, for some split volunteer to provide refreshments, I think, for who did it, it was unbidden providing
Okay.
amazing
Kate
food.
Sandmeyer.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
so I
was
would
like,
hate for
not
her
just
to
like a little,
feel obliged to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
or we'll, maybe we'll, well, I don't want to volunteer. Anyway, we'll ask for volunteers. You can bring some hot takes.
It doesn't have to be a pastry, a proper breakfast.
Right.
Yeah.
It was
Right.
provided
Right.
at that time,
Yeah.
just coffee.
Precedent was set.
It was so
Unbelievable
That's
food.
unbelievable.
unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, everyone's taking home piles for their families.
Yes.
Anyways, but the discussion was healthy, I think, for aligned around wanting to do something and to explore things.
Mhm.
And that includes, we talked about the idea that there may be some shorter term things to do as well as engaging in a longer term
Well,
process.
I have an update on that.
Right, so you've been connecting with the
I
garden.
spoke to people at the garden club, hoping, the idea being that maybe we would get some planters out there because that would be quick and it would look good and that might slow people down a little bit and so on. However, I think they're right. They pointed out that planters have to be watered and deadheaded and maintained. And they aren't volunteering to do all of that. And that what they would like to see happen longer term would be in-ground plantings of native drought resistant plants. Which makes perfect sense, but it means nothing happens immediately, because you can't do that until you know what you're doing in a bigger way. But it does make sense.
Yeah, no, I heard some of this discussion, you know, Ronnie's partner name is
Nicole.
Nicole. I mean, she really knows her stuff.
Yeah.
As a professional,
Right.
and all the folks at the garden. So I think that they together talked about dealt with that.
So I think we have to wait until we know whether the road bed is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all of that.
But anyway, the trick is we just need to kind of build some forward momentum and try and maintain.
I think the garden club will be happy to be involved in some way when the time comes.
Yeah.
For the okay.
Yeah. So more news soon. Hopefully I'll get a meeting date set. It's not good.
You know, I thought it was a very useful thing. I think, you know, perhaps the most useful aspect was to put everyone onto the same level in terms of, you know, what collective knowledge is.
Yeah.
The opportunities, but also the restrictions associated with that triangle. And I still think, you know, the suggestion that speak to Gordon and get some action of that was a good.
Well, and then this whole thing that suddenly revealed that the town has gotten $860,000 for sidewalks, and there's already a plan to spend a big chunk of that money in Cornwall.
Exciting.
Which is good.
It should be.
Unfortunate that we didn't know about that a little bit earlier on the project.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, now we know, and we'll figure out how we work around it.
Do you know any, just apropos of that money being spent, do you know anything about what road widening is happening in West Cornwall Village? Which I saw in the Chronicle today. I don't know any-
Yeah.
I think maybe in front of the pink house where there's a grass strip and then the sidewalk. I think there is sort of the idea of maybe taking that grass strip away in order to allow for parking alongside the road there. That could be it.
We don't know exactly.
The thing about sidewalks though too is I wish when they propose these lovely sidewalks is that they would also allot for winter maintenance, because they don't get maintained. In the winter, people have to walk in the road. No one shovels them, not in West Cornwall.
In front of their own property.
Well, there's the one from the post office down to the railroad crossing. Who owns that? The river? You know, and the same goes for the stretch in front of the pink house. People have slipped, fallen, but they don't even know who they can talk to. I often get comments.
That's a good point to remember to
Yeah.
talk about in our,
That's
in our
really-
committee, like the ongoing, the plan versus the ongoing support. That's a good
Exactly,
point.
the maintenance of clearing the especially.
All right, good. Anyway, I thought that was terrific. Cornwall Day, what did you thought about that?
Yeah, I haven't had a roundtable meeting. I have talked a lot to individuals more last fall after Cornwall Day, last summer into fall. And I also reached out to Park and Rec and had a conversation with Michelle and Jen about like their schedule. And where I'm netting out is that, you know, we can try to sort of keep going along the same path and just having a day that we encourage businesses to offer something special. And hope that a couple businesses might kind of step up and coordinate it more. But where I feel like I'm netting out, and I've talked to a few people in the commission about this too, is that as an EDC, I feel like it would make it a stronger event if we actually had, you know, what some people might call a tent pole or whatever, like something that is, you know, this is a music day, an art day, a music and art day, a kid fair day, a whatever we decided to be, that, you know, and it doesn't have to be super complex and expensive, obviously, but something where that's the center of it, and then the businesses build around that in the way that they see fit. they see fit. I think one thing that sort of I personally have realized just like doing that for a couple of years is that some businesses work very well with this idea of like, there's a special day, come in and stop by and, you know, enjoy whatever you might find at the Wish House or the wine tasting at the package store. But a lot of businesses, both in West Cornwall and in Cornwall Bridge, it's not their business model. The stop by and enjoy is not their business model. You're not going to do that at the framing store or at the hardware store. I think he put out a tent and he went through all this effort, and it's just not gonna drive traffic for him. He has very specific customers who come for very specific reasons. So I think that also made me think, you know, it's not, and we know this, it's obvious that we're not like Kent and we're not like Salisbury, who does these like very, you know, larger sidewalk sale type of things. We don't have that range of businesses to make that. So that's where I just wanted to have a broader conversation about like what if, and you know, if we want to do something like that, and how would we go about it, and do we want it to be art and music in the fall and instead of in the summer because it was hot, and I don't know. So there's all sorts of things to just sort of reset. I would say.
Mayor,
Yeah.
cool idea about something about Mohawk, right?
Right, I haven't reached out to them yet, but thank you for reminding me of that. The Mohawk had that really very successful, I went last October, excuse me, Fall Fest, I think they just call it a fall festival. And you know, they obviously, they're Mohawk, they have their marketing, you know, budgets and their people doing things at Mohawk all the time. But it really was very well attended, and so that could be another way to collaborate. Like we wanted to wait until fall, maybe, you know, we could talk to them about like they have their big event, but then after you go to the craft fair and enjoy the food trucks at Mohawk, maybe you come into town and you enjoy something else. So we could, I haven't had a chance to reach out to them yet, but we talked about inviting them to a meeting anyway. So,
Well, I think, you know,
People come in.
Chris had also talked about a music festival, maybe
Yeah.
just, you know, morph that into, you know, what Cornwall Day would
right,
be created around. So,
Right.
you know, maybe working with Chris and the idea of having a music festival whenever, spring, summer,
right,
somewhere in between spring and summer. August, I don't know, or maybe even around the time when we have like the Rose Algren show.
Mhm.
When there are people coming to town for the art, and then having music just to make it even more
That's fair.
enticing for people. I
Right.
don't know, that's
I
always
think that Rose Algren thing does overlap with one of the Park and Rec nights.
that always does it.
Right,
That's
so
the-
that might,
Yeah,
actually,
I know.
Michelle and I talked about that's almost too many things. There can be too many things, I think. So,
Maybe what we need is, you know, something significant enough for Cornwall to get into it.
right,
I know Leslie's going to do another Grumbling Griffin's performance, which is a good kids.
that is
Mhm.
nice, yeah,
That's
Yeah,
something
maybe
concrete.
she
Yeah.
could do that down, like, for instance, in West Cornwall on the lawn next to the
Yeah.
library.
Yeah.
That would be a great thing,
Yeah.
because if then there's the restaurant, we
Right.
have a lot of,
right,
Well,
and then music.
yeah, what's the word, Wagon Mud Day, whatever, is it really called?
The,
Oh, right.
the
show.
country market.
Country Mud Day, whatever it is, brings enormous stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, but that's nice if we could get that.
right, it went to, it went to,
Has it moved out of time?
right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's bigger.
There's the
it's-
wagon run and the mud show. The mud show's at Lime Rock.
But the run's still here.
Mhm.
Wagon run's
That's
still.
I think that's in October, the run, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, given that the little guilds can you
That might be the wagon run
with the
partner because it's a very short window. That thing only goes on for 2 hours.
right, that's true, that could be a good day.
There's no meal. Everyone's in the same place. They've all come to Cornwall Village
Right.
for a 30-minute 5K and a 30 minutes of playing with their dogs, and then they're done.
but they have dogs. I mean, not that the dogs are not welcome in businesses, but it always makes it difficult. They don't all get along with one another and dragging them
I mean,
around town.
But
Yeah,
but
you
but
can't leave them
what
in the
other
car.
event that we, whether it's Mohawk Fest, like where in fact people don't already have a full slate, right? You've got, I mean, I think they got, I don't know, 100 participants last year. Not everybody runs with their dog. It's a 5K. You don't have to run with your dog. A lot of
Right.
people don't run with their dog.
Right.
If you are running that event with your dog gets along with other dogs.
And you bring your family, and I mean, we've done it a bunch of years. It's a very festive event, but it's very finite and a tight window, and everyone's got to go somewhere.
It's a
They
great.
don't do a lot around it. I don't even think they serve food.
What weekend is that? Do you remember the date, the weekend?
Early October,
It's
maybe?
usually I think it's Columbus Day weekend. I can't be sure though. It's right around there.
No, I think it's a nice idea just to keep thinking of things. I mean, and then obviously we would want those
We need
people
to
to go
build
to the
it.
commercial centers or to other, locations where other things are happening, so. To tie it into some event
I
like that
mentioned
might be,
to Duncan before you got here that I went to that Norfolk Day just
Oh, nice.
to see what it was.
right,
And they had a well-attended tie flying event. Yeah, people very happily tying flies, which were not one.
right, I
Just
like
one
that.
more thing that we can
Right.
offer.
The fellow who ran the fly shop is still in for,
Mm-hmm.
and he does mostly his work over the internet. So
But he might be, I mean,
Yeah.
willing to sit with people.
we actually have a run. One more.
We actually have a fisherman right here on the EDC. So maybe, I think it's just like it was before, we just sort of need conversations that are more detailed than we get at these meetings to sort of develop ideas, so if people wanna have a breakfast meeting or whatever, we can reach out. Should I go do that again? Like just another type of roundtable, just another, okay, yeah. Okay. I'll set a roundtable meeting for that, let's see. Who we get? Both from the EDC and from just the business
Do you
community.
think there's been any growth and momentum? Had two of them.
I think
Is it still?
that Three Guys Ski and Ride had such success, and I think the promotion probably did help him because, we were trying to promote, well, Neil does such a good job promoting each of the individual businesses. But in the end, having a sale like that at ski shop in the summer, it's just a big draw regardless of what day it is, so, obviously that was like a highlight last year, but. I don't know if there's momentum, but I think there's interest in it, just trying to make it a little bit more centered around a few key things. And less reliant on sort of individual businesses, trying to coordinate that as sort of. Yeah.
Robert and I went to the Norfolk one mostly to see how that was working.
Right.
Because it looked on paper like, wow.
Mhm.
What did you say, Neil? It was Cornwall Day on steroids or something? I mean, that's what the promotion material
It
looked like.
was spread out though, right?
But when you got there,
Yeah.
in fact, there were not people to be found. I found a room full of people tying flies.
Okay,
And there were some events in different places, but there was no sense of busy people bustling, coming and going. I mean, that I didn't feel at all. And
Right.
I looked around. Admittedly, we did go to the curling place. I now know much more, 100% more about curling than I knew before. But it looked like so much more on paper.
right,
Than what it felt like in person.
right,
For whatever that's worth.
but it sounds like they had a few key things that, whether it was the curling place or the.
Yeah, and I didn't bring it with me tonight, but I'll show you, I'll bring you at the round table. They did have a very well-designed map and schedule list.
Yes.
That made it easy to
I
see
think-
what was happening.
right.
That's useful. So you can see, okay, I'm here Saturday at 2.
Right.
I have this or this,
And we tried to improve that in year 2, but it was still hard wrangling the businesses
Right, yeah.
and so that's why it feels like, even if you pick, if I like things come in threes, right? Good things come in packages of three, like, even if you just pick three main things, like, do this in the morning, you run away, do this at lunchtime, and then go to this
Right.
at 4 o'clock. I think that's sort of, and then in between, you can have things, but you need sort of
I'll bring you
those,
their schedule, because it was,
Yeah. yeah.
it was presented in a good way.
Would involve Trinity.
I think he wants to,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
want to be
yeah.
involved,
Setting,
yeah, definitely, yeah,
he definitely wants to be more engaged. And
and
there's
visiting.
a whole bunch of fun things you could
Mhm.
do there.
I love walking around Trinity.
Yeah, there's
It's such a, you can do so, they can, I'm sure they would do some kind of gardening thing even,
Yeah.
with the lawn and that, so. Yeah, I think, yeah, I think there's a lot we can do, I just think we needed to sort of like reassess exactly how we approach it, so I can set a roundtable, send out an email. And see who we get.
Yeah.
I'll do it at the union probably maybe.
Do you think it would benefit from being associated with one particular part of Cornwall, like Cornwall Bridge or
I
West
mean-
Cornwall?
A lot of
Is it too diffuse?
that has definitely been suggested, and I do think that, you know, for simplicity's sake of event planning, probably a 101 thing is to have it in one central location, but it does start feeling like, you know, and we don't want that businesses might be left out. As we talked about once at a roundtable to alternate, like this year it could be in West Cornwall, and next year it could be in Cornwall Bridge, and you know, it could just sort of, which is a lovely idea, I think. But yeah, it is sort of, I don't know how many people are gonna go for a wine tasting and then drive for art opening and then drive back for music over here, you know, like you do want it to be. So we should definitely revisit that again, I think it would be,
The nature of Cornwall.
yeah. And now that we have the market, there's some other anchor in
But you can
Cornwall
even,
Bridge.
but you can even, I mean, I, as a business, cannot even collaborate with them, having, for instance, having Richard Bramley do a wine tasting on the premises.
Right.
During a art opening, having food catered from
From
the
the
market,
right.
you know, just to get people around, you know, that don't maybe go down that way, to get to know, oh, that food is available down in Cornwall Bridge.
Right.
I mean, I did that with years ago, I think it was a winter event with Matthew's 1812 house when that was still in existence. And there were so many people that didn't even know about it. And
Right.
that then wound up doing like holiday gifts, corporate holiday gifts,
Right.
because they got to know that Matthew's 1812 house did
Right.
exist in Cornwall.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And just that networking kind of thing, I think is possible, you know,
Right.
and you can create a whole some
Well, I think there is a real advantage to having a concentrated enough presence to generate some. I think it
Right.
feels a little like, you know, when you get there, and there's nobody there.
Right.
Right.
So if we could get Richard to come to West Cornwall and other things like that.
Right.
It would concentrate it.
I think it would make sense, yeah.
Yeah.
And the covered bridge is a tourist attraction, so it might get some tourists
Yeah,
too.
people just
Who
meander.
want to see that
Yeah.
anyway, right? So, okay, more to come.
Discuss that.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not sure about the July date then, so,
Yeah.
so, yeah. We'll see.
Okay, Chris is not here, so we can't talk about the Spring Music Festival, which is rapidly becoming summer.
Yes.
Let's see, your campaign, Cornwall, do you have?
Yeah, Neil and I had a nice chat just to kind of think about how we could really, you know, what first step we can take on this, because I think everyone, I got the feeling that everyone liked the idea of having a more specific campaign and message out there in the world for Cornwall. But I think, well, where we netted out is we're thinking about why I have these printed materials here, like, we have our map that serves its purpose,
Yeah.
and it's important to have it there for people who, but I wouldn't call that really a promotional come to Cornwall piece. And with this idea of trying to create a more, you know, kind of cohesive message about why come to Cornwall and enjoy all that's offered here, we thought that would be a good place to start. Like, whether it would be this shape that you can put in all of the rest stops and in different places where or something different, you know, all those details we could work out, but I think it's a place to start, that we could at least engage with the graphic designer, maybe Karen Weigel, I haven't reached out to her yet, or if anyone has any graphic designers, I know a few, but they're not local. And just start there with a piece that everyone can really say, you know, this is Cornwall, a nice picture of the Wish House and the package store and the market, and that every business represented somehow, in a piece that, you know, just is really, could be anywhere that you could pick it up and be curious about what Cornwall is. So that's where we're recommending starting.
Yeah, you know,
That makes sense.
a lot about what Cornwall means, and strategically, right? Like there's something about Cornwall that's like a hidden gem, and people love to stumble upon it and find this little place and tell others about it. And that's one of the reasons why we kind of came to the idea of maybe the first phase is doing the map to help people find us. But we, you know, one of the things that we talked about is like, we just might not be that town that like should do radio commercials and all these things. Like it almost is in opposition to what like the town's ethos is, right? So we talked about like creating breadcrumbs so that people can find us more easily, but you know, we might not do a huge come to Cornwall. Like maybe we do a big push about the outdoors, and you know, in winter, you know, we help push Mohawk, and then maybe in the summers we help push the walking paths and the hiking, and maybe we help push the individual businesses, right? And like we allow people to stumble upon this place, as opposed to like, you know, maybe do we sort of like devalue the specialness of finding the place if we go broadcast and tell everybody to come here? So I just wanted to share like a little bit of that conversation too. And you know, and again, either way you look at it, I think that the map is a good first step, but I think creating lots of like marketing pieces to help people easily find us feels true to what our brand is about.
Right. And it's got to be something attractive, which you can put in the racks outside, you know, Sharon Market and things like that. So that you can think about. I agree. I think talking about, you know, the overall opportunities and strengths in Cornwall is tremendously important. I mean, you know, as we've talked in prior meetings, there are an enormous number of things that go on here at the library, you know, the various sort of town events that we have, whether it be, you know, Cornwall Reads Cornwall, you know, the Boxing Day reading at North Cornwall Church, you know, all these sort of things which no one has a clue about.
Right.
But which really do make Cornwall very different. So I think, you know, something which kind of conveys that atmosphere, you know, plus obviously all the commercial enterprises, but actually be very good. And hopefully we're going to be augmented, presumably, by a restaurant in West Cornwall.
Don't let it near.
Yeah. It's coming. It's supposed to
I'll take out presumably, hopefully.
Yeah.
You know, so there will be, you know, still more things there, but I see where you're going. I think that makes tremendous sense.
Good. So we'll come back with maybe more specific idea of a first step and a budget that we would need to design something and kind of work together on all the message points. Like Neil, I love the idea of the hidden gem, but then, you know, you kind of little seeds of curiosity and then
Good. As you know, I presented the annual report to the Cornwall PMZ. It seemed to go pretty well. They were, you know, when we talked a little bit about, you know, all our efforts to deal with commercial businesses, but one question they asked was if we ever thought of asking the residents of Cornwall what they want, which I thought was a pretty good question.
a coffee shop.
Yeah, well,
Okay, no, just kidding. Let's not talk about that. I know, a coffee shop, a coffee truck. Yeah.
And there was also interest in the inventory that we've started talking about, Oscar, for, you know, commercial properties. with details about, you know, what restrictions there might be on those. Which was, I thought, an interesting comment coming from P&Z. So, you know, I think that went down pretty well. Treasurer's report, I don't think there's anything additional to report. We're in the budget for the amount we've requested, which is the same as last year, 6,500. I'm sorry Gordon isn't here to update us on this today, but if you remember at the last meeting, we did have a discussion about what our draft goals should be for this year, and you lot instructed me to go off and try and wordsmith your various thoughts, which is what I've done here. So no pride of authorship, but this was what I had understood you to say. You wanted to see as the goals, of course, my mistake. So the first one was to continue to promote Cornwall and its existing businesses, with a sub-point consistent outreach to the Cornwall business community, which I think, you know, pretty fundamental to what we do. Support the Board of Selectmen in attracting and enabling new business entrepreneurs in Cornwall. And I think the key word there is really entrepreneurs. Help to identify business opportunities and help facilitate new business creation. And I think this whole, you know, question of an inventory of commercial premises goes there. I should say P&Z was also very interested in the, you know, list of all the businesses we have, including the at-home businesses, which I don't think was probably looking for that out there. You know, I think we decided to keep working more closely with the Cornwall agricultural sector, which is probably something we need to emphasize a little bit more this year. We didn't do a huge amount on that last year. Develop spring and summer events. You're handling spring, summer is opposite.
I would say,
Or maybe it's the other way around.
I don't know,
Spring.
or just events. Seasonal, let's change it to seasonal events. Let's not like put ourselves in it. Yeah.
So make that seasonal events.
Maybe we could invite someone from the Ag Commission to one of our meetings.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Good idea.
Just to get an idea of what
Yep.
they are doing. Because I agree, I think it would be ideal actually to have someone even on a commission like that who is tried and true Cornwall farming, because that's such a huge segment here, and to hear that voice, to that representation, I think is important to have a good mix.
I think that's it, actually.
But they are strapped.
They're busy people.
I was talking to Tracy Dolan, and you know, they don't have a day off. It's just, and you know, beside that they work too. And then they have children in the school and they have fundraisers, and then they are on Park and Rec. You know, it's like people who don't ever sleep. So it's tough to get them to be able to be everywhere, but you know, we can try.
Right. Well, it's just, yeah, just something
Yeah.
that come to our
Definitely.
meetings.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. And then finally represent Cornwall at regional and state meetings.
Thank you.
Actually, I'm gonna reach out to the North. I met the Norfolk, I don't know how to say that, Norfolk woman at a meeting, and then I got her contact.
The Northwest Corner.
At the tourism, board meeting, and then, so I'm gonna connect with her more specifically. I'm kind of curious who coordinated all of that at the Norfolk Winter Day or whatever it was. So, yeah, so I'll find out more, and it's good to just talk to other towns and see what,
Right.
you know, what other towns do with their goals and their budgets.
Good. Well, that's the agenda. Does anyone have anything else they want to raise?
I would love to, in order to promote Cornwall businesses better, I would love to see an easier search engine on the, or you know, like a drop-down menu on the Cornwall website, rather than right now it's like click, you have to click at least 3 times till you find one thing, and then you're not really sure if that's the right thing you're looking for. I also find that there are people, because we do no longer have yellow pages, who are just looking for a specific person that they know of, but they can't find their phone number. And if they could go to the website and just scroll through all the list of names, maybe even, put into the search bar the category, which then would bring them closer to where they would be searching, as it's the case, and in a lot of websites, that would be really helpful. But right now, it's sort of this really,
Yeah, I mean, I
It's
went
so
through
hard.
the meeting.
right, but
I
it's
did
not.
request a simplification,
Yeah.
direct, easy to find
It's
thing with the
so
panel that says businesses. And they
difficult.
said they would,
Well, now it says on the top, it says business. It doesn't
But-
say
Yeah.
any longer consider Cornwall, but it says business, but then it's drop
not
down
organized
for
in
your
a way.
business,
They should be
business
alphabetically as
directory.
they find.
And then from the business directory, it goes to the various different categories just listed. And you don't often know, are you looking for a forester? Are you looking for a gardener? Which category is the person going to fit in? Where are you going to find them? And
I'll look at it again. and
yeah,
see if
it being so hidden away makes it so difficult. And I'm sure Rocco could do something miraculous there.
Is Rocco heading it up?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, because we have all the information, the business information,
Directory.
right?
Is that where you do have to click a bunch of times, so with that link doesn't even work, okay.
That, yeah,
I could tell them that. There's somewhere where you can get to, anyway. I won't-
Yeah,
I
it's
won't
not
get
as
too
easy.
distracted. It's not that easy to
because
find,
we
right?
have, for instance, we have a new person in town with, it's called Netto Security, Internet Security. And just to get, something like that listed easily on there, it's not that, it would be better if it was just sort of a drop-down menu. And,
Yeah.
Do you want categories and then the lists of,
yeah,
Okay.
much like, I mean, basically these categories that we have on the directory.
yes.
And then just go from that, and you could just probably plug this all in. I mean,
I was going to say, why reinvent the wheel? The work's all been done.
All this information, just
Yeah.
list that. So that would be something that I really would love to see. So it's easier.
Section with categories, and then you hit the plus sign and it
Yeah.
drops down, is that gone? I
I
just
haven't
can't
looked at
find it.
recently, so,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
saw it earlier too.
You did, okay. Interesting. Do we want, I know, like, just to be clear with the Cornwall, with the explorecornwall.com that Neil is great at
Right.
updating. We are really talking to visitors more there,
Right.
but we could add a page with a
That would-
directory there too, maybe. Do you think,
Would-
could we easily do that, Neil, just so at least it's there? It might be a little bit redundant to the .org, but maybe
yeah, but if you can
redundancy
find
is
it,
that, right?
redundant, you okay?
Yeah.
Because there are like entities like Nextdoor. People are going to that. I mean, some Cornwall businesses lose out because people are searching for a plumber, for an electrician, for, a handyman. And they wind up going to something entirely different that really reaches out to Warren, Sharon, and everywhere else. And, if we really want to harness,
Of course.
activity for
Yeah.
our town people who offer such, then that
It's a
would be
good
the way
idea
to
to
do it.
have it,
If that was possible, yes.
Do you think it could be a separate page on Neil? Because
Drop down,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you get me the
oh,
list.
I'll send you this, yeah.
and without a cryptic heading.
do you have that in like a file, in a like Excel file or something like
I
that?
think I have,
Or it's like a,
it's a Word file.
it's a,
I
okay,
think.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm sure he could, as long as he doesn't have to.
No,
He can
no.
cut and paste it, right?
yeah, I think that's just really, because I get phone calls from people, do you have a phone number for John Laporta? or for Larry Stevens.
Or
You
Rihanna.
have, it's like, no, you don't have phone books anymore, it's.
It's actually very hard fun.
And because Richard used to work on the website a lot and would always post everything immediately, because he had nothing else to do, obviously. It's just automatic that I get these phone calls.
Mhm. No, I think that's an excellent idea. Good. Well, I don't think we have anyone from the public. So can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to
20
adjourn.
past.
Well done.
Well done. Yeah,
Thank you very much, everyone. See you next week.
thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
Bye. And I think I got the.
Thank you so much, Jane.